What's up, everyone? As promised, we are back and at it again, talking baseball as we approach the season. District baseball back at it in action. I am Nick. You can follow me on Twitter at 1NM underscore baseball. He is Trey. He is off Twitter, but follow the show at District BSB. Trey, what's going on, brother?
Nick, I'm just so excited we have finally been here through the long, long winter. Obviously, we had the WBC to kind of tide us over, which was very, very nice, of course. But it's time to get into the regular season. We've got games starting on Wednesday night with the special Yankees versus Giants opener, and then
Mm-hmm.
all day on Thursday we've got games going. So it's going to be a good time, good weekend for baseball.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of feel it. Obviously, to not quite a tangent, but to veer off the sport for a second, obviously you have March Madness going, and March Madness is great. Don't get me wrong, but like usually that's the sign, the internal clock. You're like, all right, baseball's right there. Like March Madness hits, checkpoint hits, you get past the opening weekend, then you're like, all right, opening days right here. So, yeah, it's going to be great. It's obviously a great time of year for sports, but obviously for baseball fans in general, finally get past all of the long off season, dragged out stories, dragged out free agencies, all this kind of stuff, and we can finally get back to it. I it's funny because in like football, for example, the story is like, oh, on week one, all 32 teams have hope. And then you get to baseball and you're like, well, don't know if all 30
Maybe
teams have
not.
hope, but it's still cool, right? We're still at opening day, which is awesome. But first, like you mentioned it, let's recap the World Baseball Classic because what a finish. But overall, I think the tournament was good. I'm not trying to like take away anything from the tournament, but I think it raised a lot of questions about like the timing of it. Obviously, you had some pitch counts, and someone like Tarek Skubal, arguably the best pitcher in the world, making one kind of half start and then leaving, but then coming back to be in the dugout, and it, which is like fine, but if you're going to be there, might as well play. So overall, Trey, what were your thoughts on the World Baseball Classic?
Well, I think every time it comes around, it's just an incredible event.
Yeah.
There's just a different level of urgency for most of the teams when you're playing for your country. So, and it's all obviously, basically single elimination bracket after you know, essentially a double elimination pool play. It's not exactly like that with tiebreakers, but you lose
Mhm.
twice in pools, you're probably not making it.
Right.
Um, yeah, but just another incredible event. I thought the bracket play was amazing. Um, and yeah, no, what you're saying about questions about the timing of the event, actually, I remember I saw a clip that Max Scherzer interview, where he said, push it back 2 or 3 weeks because of pitch counts. You kind of get, if you push it back 2 or 3 weeks, maybe you lose a week of the regular season, but you gain the ability for those pitchers to be kind of ready to go, like, and they don't have to worry about pitch counts as much. But regardless of any of that stuff, the event was incredible. Team Venezuela took it in the end with just an amazing run. They went through Japan in the quarterfinals, bounced them for the first time ever. Japan didn't make the semis in the
Yeah,
WBC,
crazy.
and then met Team Italy somehow in the semifinals. They're a whole nother story. And they managed to take care of them. And then obviously that championship game was just an awesome battle, intense, great defense, great pitching, clutch hitting, and Gino Suarez hits the game-winning double at the end. Just an amazing event for baseball. It always crushes, and it's always just good to get baseball as many eyes on baseball as possible, especially this early in the season. It helps with the regular season as well. Fans are already invested in baseball, and it just feels like it's always good for just getting eyes on the sport.
Yeah, can I agree with everything you said. The funniest, it's funny, it's annoying, I have a lot of opinions on it. Obviously, I was rooting for the USA to win. And it was disappointing to see them fall short again. Can we stop with like the like oh, USA is such a disappointment, and it's like what does the USA have to do, how da, 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 da. Meanwhile they're going up against a team full of all-stars, they're acting like Team USA losing is like the biggest upset in the world, and they're going up against like a team of legitimate MLB All Stars. And don't get me wrong, like Eduardo Rodriguez is not the top 20, top 30 pitchers in baseball or anything like that, but he's a quality arm. Right. And have you Ronald Acuna and Gino Suarez and Salvi Perez. Like you have all those guys on the other side that want to win it just as badly and are very, very, very good MLB caliber players. So I just thought that was funny. Watching the final, obviously it was a struggle for a while to push runs across until Harper's home run. But it was just like, oh man, like this Venezuela team, they're almost like a Cinderella. I understand they never won it, but like it was a really good team. Like it was just an all-star game basically.
No, I don't think Venezuela beating them was necessarily a huge upset, but Italy beating them was a huge upset.
Yes,
And
that's
obviously the
fair.
embarrassment of not knowing that you're even not
That's
qualified.
yeah, that's a whole
That
nother
was the
thing.
whole that
I
was that
mean,
was the bigger issue is that they completely botched that and almost got they had to rely on their JV team to bail them out eventually. So it's kind of yeah, Mark DeRosa's gonna struggle to get that job back after that.
yeah,
But
and I mean,
I think the
it's
the bigger problem was that they didn't get a runner in scoring position for almost two full games. So that probably that lineup just didn't come through. The pitching was really good though.
yeah.
Pretty much the whole tournament, honestly.
Well, pitching's always going to be ahead of hitting this time of year. Not to take anything away from pitchers, but
Yeah, unless you're
it,
Team USA in 2023.
that's fair. But yeah, I think it just lends itself to the idea of like push it back. I saw some. I can't remember if it came from like um someone of Max Scherzer's caliber, or if it was just an idea floated around, but like a mid-season World Baseball Classic, like
Oh yeah, I would
I,
have no. Well, that's how the Olympics are about to be in
right.
2028. It would
I,
make sense,
I just
honestly,
think
just to
it
kind
makes
of
so much more sense. I mean, it's not just baseball; it's sports in general. I understand there's money involved, and the owners don't love it, and yada yada yada. I
yeah,
mean,
who
you
cares?
had the Cubs and even situation with the Padres and Mason Miller, like oh, you can only use them in save situation, like things like that. That's probably even going to be more so a factor if you have a mid-season World Baseball Classic, but like it would certainly be even more entertaining because everyone's kind of no pun intended in mid-season form. um so I love that idea, but it just I would love it if sports like the leagues would work around these like major events that are good for the game. Like it just seems almost too obvious, but obviously these commissioners and these owners aren't in the
Yeah,
business
take
of
the
entertainment, they're in the business of money.
take the hockey approach because they did
Oh
that and
my
it was a
gosh.
huge success both with that the
And
Four
no wonder
Nations.
hockey's growing like at a crazy
Yeah,
pace.
and baseball has a is also growing at a crazy pace right now because of events like this, and it doesn't really make sense because of that. It really doesn't make that much sense for the owners to hate it. Like I
Right.
get your players that you're paying a lot of money are kind of risking injury, but they're risking injury in spring training during the tournament. Hunter Green went under the knife. He did not go to the tournament. He was in spring training. So it's
Right.
like, is it really that different? I don't think so. It's not like these guys are playing that less intensely in spring training. They have to ramp up to like, regular season type of stuff. So they're eventually going to be throwing at full capacity in spring. So it's not like it's that really big of a difference. Um, I wouldn't mind it moving it a couple weeks back. I wouldn't mind it having it in mid-season. I don't mind how it is now. I just want more baseball. So I'm good with either one as long as the tournament exists and we get to see all the great teams come together and play each other.
Yeah. Yeah. No, certainly a great tournament. It was a great, you know, in and of itself, it was great, but it was a great lead up to the season as well. Just like you to your point, more baseball the better. And some great stories, some huge surprises. I think Italy being the biggest one. I don't think anyone really saw that one coming, but
Definitely not.
they had a great run. Japan not making it. The Dominican Republic, honestly, like I'm shocked if if there was a team to like where them losing is an upset. I think it's the DR, right? You saw Juan
I
Soto's
thought the
comments.
DR was going to blow them out, honestly,
Yeah,
because the way
right.
the U.S. played against Canada, I was like, I don't know, man, they are not looking that strong. But again, that their pitching really stepped it up.
Yeah. So again, a ton of great stories. I loved all the Aaron Judge memes.
The
That was
17-year-old
entertaining.
kid who got him to
Right.
ground into double play was crazy.
Right. So yeah, it was a great tournament. Great tournament. And you saw some Nats legends, obviously Andres Machado in that championship game.
Yeah, he
Pal
threw a threw the worst changeup in a baseball game since the 2023 Trey Turner Grand Slam.
right down the middle.
It was
Yep.
like the exact same pitch. But yeah, there's a lot of Nats, former Nats players, a couple current Nats players like Harry Ford playing for Great Britain. He hit their first homer of the tournament, which was cool, and Matt Mervis, who was like a minor league pickup, played for Team Israel. But mostly it was guys that we haven't seen in a while, or maybe they were traded last year, like the first guy here, Michael Soroka, who played for Team Canada and was okay. But yeah, a bunch of different guys. Any guys on this list that really stand out to you that you wanted to talk about?
I mean, Paolo Espino doing something that like he would toss in randomly every like 20 starts and it prolonged or 20 appearances and it prolonged his, Nats tenure by like 7 years is pretty funny to know he still has it in his bag. Just a random like fireman start.
He was still chucking that 68 mile per hour curveball over the plate.
Right.
Looking good.
Otherwise, I mean, no, it was just funny to see all these people. It's not just the Nats, but just in general, it's like names you thought they were out of baseball years ago, and they kind of were. But then the World Baseball Classic rolls around, they're like, "Yep, I'm gonna throw it on, like throw
Oh,
on the
dude, there's
uniform."
so many like retired
Yeah,
players that come back. Like I saw James Paxton pitch for Team Canada a couple
yeah, the Big
times.
Maple. Yep,
The craziest one, you remember Alexi Ramirez?
of course.
44 years old, was still playing for Team Cuba. I thought that was hilarious. By far the oldest player in the tournament. I want to talk about the Erasmo Ramirez start. He pitched for Team Nicaragua and went 5 innings. One earned run, was really, really good. And it just reminded me of the fact that he had that one really good season for the Nats and pretty much no other great season in his
Yeah,
career. So
ever.
it's
Yeah, right.
just really funny. That's just a really funny bit. But yeah, it's always interesting to see, like, I mean, even guys that never even played for us. I put Dane Dunning on this list because he was a first round pick. It's like, oh yeah, that, he has a connection to the Nats. There's just a ton of guys. It's really, really funny to just see a guy pop up on your screen. You're like, oh, I remember that guy. But honestly, most of the time for the wrong reasons.
Mhm.
But still, it's fun.
Always. So yeah, great tournament. And it was certainly a fun trip down memory lane for some of these random Nats players. But let's move on to the current Nats players and
Do we have
talk
to?
about, yeah, I know, right? Talk about the projected roster. We're recording this on Sunday night, March 22nd. So there's a couple of decisions that are still left to be made. I can't remember exactly what they're at right now, number wise, but we're going to go off the projected roster based on what Fangraphs has, and obviously some of the news that has transpired over the past couple of days. Guys getting sent down, guys getting traded and traded for that have certainly altered the final projections. So how it stands right now, the rotation: Cade Cavalli, Jake Irvin, Foster Griffin, Zach Littell. I'm not sure.
I think it's Littell.
Littell, and then Miles Michaelis, something. Position players: Keber Ruiz, Drew Millis, Luis Garcia Jr., Andres Chaparro, Nasim Nunez, Jose Tena, Jorbit Vivas, which we'll talk about here in a minute. CJ Abrams, Brady House, James Wood, Jacob Young, Dalen Lyle, Joey Weimer, and then the bullpen: Clayton Beater, Cole Henry, Brad Lord, PJ Poulin, Sionel Perez, Andre Granillo, Orlando Ribalta, and Ken Waldachuk. Certainly something, Trey. It is certainly something.
That is a term that you could certainly use for this team.
Yeah,
They are
among
something.
other terms.
Yeah, but that's a light term.
What stands out to you the most, just first glance?
Well, obviously, I think the biggest storyline of this team is that there's no Dylan Cruz on this
Right.
roster, and he's
I
been
think
sent to
that's you
AAA.
have to start there.
Have to start there. Unfortunately, I can't say I blame them. I'm not the biggest believer in spring training performance being the end all be all of everything. Normally, it kind of evens out during the season. But the process is the big thing that you're looking for in spring. And unfortunately, Cruz was striking out way too much, swinging, missing at pretty much everything during spring training. Didn't honestly look like that great. And on defense, I saw him drop a blatant fly ball, just a can of corn, dropped it. I think there's something mentally on there. Obviously, I think I didn't want to believe it at the time, but I'm pretty sure that we called him up way too soon. He never really dominated AAA as a hitter before we called him up. But I wanted to believe in him being obviously being the second overall pick. But I think it's a good thing, honestly. I think it's a good thing. He's got to prove it again to this new staff. They have to. They're not gonna just come in here with any expectations of what they think a guy is like. They saw him firsthand. They said, you know what, this guy's not ready. We gotta fix this. Um, and so yeah, it's unfortunate. Obviously, I like the kid, and I hope that I still think he's can be a good player for us. But it's tough, but it's part of the game. And honestly, I think it's the right decision right now.
So I'm going to go to one line you just said. He 100% was called up too early, but he also was not the only one. Brady House,
Oh
way
yeah,
too early. There's other guys that are escaping me right now. Um, I mean, I think you
House
could,
is definitely the most recent one where it's like
yeah,
he was yeah.
right. Yeah, I think you could make the case for James Wood and others, even though they performed well, right? It just, they managed to kind of tread water right over the first stretch of their MLB time until they kind of figured it out to some extent. But you saw the second half slump that James Wood had last year. I'm just using him as an example, right? So it just goes to show like not everyone's going to be ready at certain times. When they hit a certain age or a certain amount of games played in the minors or whatever metric or number you're looking for. With Dylan Cruz, like it's been incredibly unfortunate, right? He was hurt the majority of last year. And I think he probably could have come back late in the season, but at that point, you have a new regime. Like, what's the point, right? You in playing just a handful of games before the season's over, anyways. You might as well just rest. But yeah, I think for a stretch there, 2023, 2024 guys were just getting called up to keep fans interested, right? We knew the names based on drafts and high profile trades. They were just getting called up because, they wanted to show fans some sort of return on investment for trading away all these players and just overall not investing much into the team. And we know so much now, but we know for a fact they weren't really doing much in terms of player development, especially considering that one, this new regime, that was their primary goal, and two, we're seeing all the things that they've added in the 6 months they've been here, a little bit more than that now, that weren't here previously. Track being the number one. For those that don't know, track is basically it's like a pitching machine sort of, but it simulates actual pitchers. So you can go in the box in the batting cage and go against Kate Cavalli or Paul Skeens or whoever you want. I know some of the Nationals relievers step in the box and face themselves just to see how nasty their stuff is, right? That was a funny story as well. But point being, the regime is investing so much in player development, not just at the major league level, but all throughout, because it wasn't there before. It was just there was so much that needed to be done just to get this team caught up with the rest of baseball. Not the rest of baseball, but to the top player development teams in baseball, right? So you look at someone like Dylan Cruz, who had a phenomenal college career, like one of the most decorated collegiate baseball players in a while, right? One of, and he hasn't figured it out yet. It sucks, but I also don't think he really had a fighting chance, a fair chance. Some guys figure it out on their own. Some guys need a little bit more time. Some guys you need to really work with and develop with. And you never know who's what and who fits into what category. But I don't think this is the end of Dylan Cruz. It's just he's had such a weird and rushed start to his professional career. Let's just pump the brakes and let these guys develop at their own pace. I mean, we the Nats didn't call up CJ initially. The Padres did, but CJ had like what 100 MLB or minor league games
Yeah, not
before.
even a full season.
Yeah, before he was called up, and like we know how maddeningly inconsistent CJ can be. Even now, he's still young, but he's so inconsistent, right? But we have to remember, even though he's had a couple seasons now, and he's an MLB All Star now, like he didn't have any development in the minor leagues, right? He's having to learn this all on the fly, and that doesn't work for everyone. So it's disappointing, but I think it's probably for the best. And you just hope that he has kind of the pressure off of him and he can figure it out. And um, certainly now there's no uh, like franchise savior pressure on him. I think everyone's kind of on the understanding like, hey, the Nats are just the Nats. There's no like expectations whatsoever. It's like we're gonna figure out who pans out, we're gonna figure out who doesn't, and then we'll be good in like 2031 or something. But like right now, it's just kind of figuring out what sticks. So hopefully the pressure's off Dylan Cruz and he can kind of just develop and get back to the great ball player we know he can be.
I think also Wyatt Langford being immediately successful probably
Yeah.
pushed Rizzo and company to just be like, we have to show something here because they're already bringing guys up who were picked behind him, and he's already playing this good. We have to show that our guy's here. But yeah, so that he kind of got screwed in that
It's
way.
just
And
funny because like for decades it was like, oh well, MLB prospects take a long time to develop, right? And then you get a couple that like are instant hits and basically jump straight to the majors. And it's like, okay, well now everyone does, or otherwise you're a bust. So like, can we remember why baseball's very, very hard to begin with? Like, the guys that pan out right away, great, but they are the exception, not the norm.
yeah, so I think yeah, I'm in agreement. It's the right move for where he's at right now, and just hopefully he can get his mental right, and get. I feel like that's kind of a block for him right now. It seems like it. I don't know the guy personally, so I can't diagnose him or anything. But it seems like he's a little bit, and rightfully so, a little bit, kind of stuck because like you said, he got forced into a position where he wasn't ready.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously that's the biggest storyline from the roster. Rotation wise, obviously is probably Josiah not making it. It makes sense. They gave him a chance. He hasn't pitched in a professional game in like 2 years, so it makes sense.
Hmm.
Give him a chance in AAA to get loose, get back to form. Um, yeah, I think we'll probably end up seeing him at some point this year, whether that is, earlier or post deadline once we potentially, offload some of these guys in the rotation like Griffin or Littell. I don't think anyone's going to be clamoring for Miles Michaelis, but one can pray. Um, and then obviously Cavalli gets the opening day nod, which I don't think we mentioned yet, but he's going to be the opening day pitcher. I sent you the video. I don't know if you ended up checking it out, but he had me fired up, man. He's ready to compete. I'm hoping that he can just stay healthy and be a guy that can kind of every fifth day you can look and say, all right, we can win this one, because I think he can be that guy. Barring any injury problems. Obviously, he's had tons of those in his career. So health is the main thing. But yeah, he's looked pretty good in spring, and he's added, I believe, a sweeper to his arsenal as well. I'm pretty sure Jake Irvin also added a sweeper, which I think, especially for Jake Irvin, is a good addition because he's able to spin the ball so effectively already. But yeah, I don't actually hate this starting rotation that much, especially with the addition of Littell, which we didn't really mention, but they picked him up via free agency on a 1 year deal. His underlying statistics aren't incredible or anything, but he can get in there, get outs. He's not gonna walk a ton of guys. Um, and it seems like given the roster build, they're going more based on defense and speed here. So having a good defense behind guys that get the ball put in play a lot is a good thing. It's going to help them out. So, any other like weirdness that you've seen in the position player list, or does everything look kind of what we expected?
I think for the most part is what we expected. Once we kind of got past waves one, two, three, four of free agency, and they weren't making any, moves, we kind of just knew it was going to be a lot of the same usual suspects, right? You know, the one thing, and we kind of get into this, especially with the trade they made today, they're really churning that bottom of the roster, not just the presumed or projected 26 man, but the 40 man in general. It's like guys are in and out all of the time. I don't really understand how they can get enough of a sample size from some of these guys. But hey, they're in charge. I'm not. I'm just kind of reacting. Um, so it is interesting to see, like, based on just the number of transactions, they are, one of the more active teams. It's just not anything that truly moves the needle. Um, but I guess, hey, they're building depth. I don't know. Counting on some bounce back and some guys to fill in. The one thing that really um, disappoints me is, like, I guess Zach Littell can fall into that category because he was solid last year, but there was no one. Hey, take a flyer on this guy, pay him 1 year, $15 million, $10 million, and see if you can flip him at the deadline. Like, I mean, Mike Rizzo had a ton of shortcomings, but he would always make at least one of those every year, and they didn't all hit. Right, the big one was Jamer Candelario, um, but then you have your Nelson Cruzes and oh God, I was going to bring up John Lester, but I don't even want to get down that
There we go, baby. Get on the
um,
train tracks.
but you know what I mean. They didn't make any of those moves, which is a little bit surprising considering how many perceived openings were on the roster. Yeah, I agree with Josiah Gray. It's like they can kind of bring him back. Even he said, like, it's not. It's within the plan, right? He knew, they knew, they were on the same page that AAA was probably a logical place for him to start. I think the late signing of Zach Littell actually kind of solidified that a little bit, right? They kind of understood that, like, hey, we gave Josiah a shot to see if he would be ready for opening day. He wasn't, so let's just make this late in the spring signing and go from there. So I think a lot of it makes sense in terms of how they're approaching it, even though it might not make sense in terms of not really doing anything to move the needle. The only thing that doesn't make sense is the trade they made today.
Yeah. The trade they made today. Yorbit Vivas, I think that's how you Vivas,
Yeah.
probably how you pronounce his name, from the Yankees utility infielder. I don't believe he was a top 30 prospect in their system. Nationals traded pitcher Sean Paul Linan, I believe that's how you pronounce that,
Mhm.
who was a player in the Alex Call trade, a player that I thought was a pretty nice get for Alex Call at the time, but that was obviously a trade made by the previous regime. Actually, not the previous regime, but Di Bartolo. Um,
Yeah, the interim regime.
yeah, the weird interim regime. But I guess whatever their internal model said make this trade. So here we are. I'm not. Fangraphs has included him on the roster, so I put him here. But I don't really know what the plan is with him, if he's going to actually break camp with us or
Well,
not.
he's out of options, right?
Yeah, so I'm guessing. Yeah, I'm guessing he
But I guess
has
you
to.
could
I don't
assign
know.
him. I don't really know how it works. I guess you could assign, but he was about to be DFA'd. I don't
Yeah,
understand
it's
why
it's very
they.
it's very strange. I guess they didn't want to let all the other teams get a chance at him, so here he is. He's
Right.
a high on base, high walk rate guy in the minor
They
leagues
love him
with
because he gets on base.
pretty much no power, which seems to be that's kind of a theme with this year's Nats team is guys that they think might be able to get on base and run a little bit, but really can't hit for much power. Um, he kind of to me seems like slightly worse than Nasim Nunez, which is I mean, I like Nassim, but let's be real, he's not the greatest player in the world. So yeah, I'm not really sure. And then you also have Tenna in there as another infield option. So we'll have to wait and see on that, but it seems like he's going to end up being on the roster because, like you said, he's got no options. So yeah, that's interesting. Um, we don't I would say I don't mean to speak for you, but I'm pretty sure you would say that you don't understand this trade like me. I don't really get this one.
No,
But
not at all.
this is a totally new operation. They do things clearly differently from the previous regime. I'll give it a chance, obviously. We'll see how it pans out. But yeah, to me, it doesn't really make sense to trade pitching depth for a utility guy who might not really play that much. I don't know. But we'll see if he actually ends up making the opening day roster or not. We don't actually know 100% yet.
Yeah, I guess I mean in many ways it doesn't matter because like he's yeah, even if he does, he's probably the 26th guy on the roster. So it
Yeah, he's
is what
not
it
going to be
is.
playing that much
Yeah, and
probably.
I mean they based on how they've operated with all their transactions thus far, they are not going to hesitate to cut bait with him if or cut ties with him if he's not performing, doesn't fit what they're looking for. So I guess it is what it is. Like again, they're just kind of churning the bottom of the roster, swapping guys in and out to see what they can put together. It is kind of an island of misfit toys. We're just bargain bin shopping that in a way I didn't think we would, but hey, it is what it is.
Mhm.
Um so yeah, it's something like to talk or to bring it back to what we started with. Um the bullpen, it's I mean, there's a couple guys, a couple names you would recognize, like Brad Lord's projected to be in the bullpen. Some guys that were here last year, Colt Henry, Clayton Beater. Um, but I think that's something. It's a lot of journeymen. So we'll see. It should be it's not going to be an uneventful year, that's for sure.
Yeah, and the one thing I will say this about try and give some positivity here because we've kind of been a
Yeah,
little
I'm not
down
even
on this
trying to be
lineup.
negative. It's just
Yeah,
it's funny
it's
to see it
on
on
paper,
paper.
it's
Yes.
rough, but I can at least see the vision here. They're trying to go for a more defensive oriented roster to help their pitching staff. Obviously, you move Luis Garcia from second to first base and put Nasim Nunez there. It's a huge defensive upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
Brady House looks pretty capable over at third base as a defender.
Mm-hmm.
CJ obviously has had his struggles at shortstop, but I think there's potential for him to at least be like slightly below average rather than the worst.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll hopefully we'll see some improvements there. I'm not expecting him to be a Gold Glove candidate or anything, but if you can get him not even too average, but just a little less than average with his bat, then he's and his obviously his prolific base running, then that's really nice. And then obviously having Jacob Young as your center fielder, I got my qualms with Jacob Young, but his glove is not the one because it is incredible out there, and he's going to help guys like Dalen Lyle and James Wood. And I still I believe Dalen Lyle can be a pretty solid defender if he starts getting better reads because like I said in the previous episode, speed wise the kid is fast as hell. Like that is not a problem. He should be able to have some range out there. So if they can get him improved, that's pretty good too. And then obviously keeping Millis on the roster. Hopefully, he's going to catch a decent number of times because he's just so much better as a defender than pretty much any other catcher we have right now. I mean, obviously Ford has the potential to get there, but he's still really young. And Millis has been amazing on the ABS challenge system this year, so that's probably going to help him get some more starts at catcher. And the DH spot is kind of a rotation, so obviously they could just throw Ruiz in DH even if he's not hitting, just to get Millis some chances to play defense, honestly. Um, but yeah, and then the bullpen, I would say there's like four locks: Beater, Henry, Lord, and Poulin. I do have I like all of those guys for different reasons. Henry's probably my least favorite right now to those guys, just because his command is really rough and the strikeout stuff isn't quite as prolific as I was hoping when he was coming up. Beater walks a ton of guys too, but he also strikes out a ton of guys. And Brad Lord is extremely valuable there in the swingman role. He's a guy that can he pitched some high leverage last year. I'm not expecting that, but he can do it. But mostly he's there because he can give you length out of the bullpen. And if you have like a minor injury to a starter, like say a blister where a guy needs to miss one start, Brad Lord's already on the roster. He can just step in and make that start. So there is some level of positivity here, but yeah, on paper, it's definitely a rough roster.
Yep, it is something. All right, real quick before we move on, what's your win total projection for the Nats this year or
I have the
prediction?
Nats at 65 and 97. So one game worse. Unfortunately, the roster on paper is probably worse than last year's opening day roster on paper. So it's all going to come down to how good the player development works. And even then, a fully new player development system probably isn't going to produce many results in year one. So that's kind of where I was said we're probably going to be around the same record. But hopefully you see some of the processes change and get a little bit better for these guys.
I'm this is I guess I'm sure certain people listening to this are like screaming like stop being so negative. Da, 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 da. This is where you'll get my optimism. I think we're actually going to be one game better than last
Okay,
year.
67 wins.
67. And that was
Oh
not
shit.
that was not intentional
No, we're not doing that.
whatsoever. 100% not intentional. It was just well, my primary reason is this. Obviously we're kind of poking fun at the roster on paper, but there's something to be said about call it vibes, right? I think with so many young guys in the clubhouse last year, they just did not mesh with David Martinez's style. Like in even Mike Rizzo's style, like they were, protecting each other. Davey was calling out players saying it wasn't on the coaches whatsoever. Like that affects how teams perform, right? It just does, but you can't quantify that. You can't quantify that in metrics or anything else, right? But with a very young coaching staff and a forward thinking front office, I think these players are going to be more motivated, right? And the talent and execution still has to be there, right? And that kind of goes to what you're saying about how, it's hard to see the returns in year one. But I think just the effort and the motivation is probably a better word because it's not that they weren't trying, but the motivation for these guys will probably be there a little bit more and longer and throughout the dog days of summer when you're just getting your ass beat for the seventh day in a row. I think we'll be. I don't remember. I don't have it off the top of my head what our run differential was last year. I think that'll be smaller. And I again, just for the sake of doing better than Rizzo and Davey did last year, we're gonna go one game higher.
Yeah, and I want to make it very clear. I hope that I am dead wrong. I want to be so wrong. And even then, with a record like this, I think we could have a similar record and but look at the season completely differently.
100%. Yep.
And that's kind of what I was talking about with process is like if we see James Wood cut his K rate by 5%, if we see CJ cut his chase rate by 5% or improve a little bit on defense, and even if the record doesn't end up looking that great, we can at least take some of those things to say like, all right, we're improving here.
Mm-hmm.
And then hopefully the player development kicks in by then, and you start seeing, especially on the pitching side, you start seeing, more. We us creep close to that like 80 win mark in like the 27 season, assuming we have one. But yeah, no, I'm more just looking for process stuff here, and like I said, really hope that I get completely proven wrong. They win like 75 games. That'd be sweet.
Yeah, no, that'd be awesome. Anything above 70, I'm feeling really good about, to be honest.
Yeah, I have to agree
Um,
with that.
So, all right, let's move on to a fun part of every single year, but this episode in particular, we're going to do our full season predictions. We're going to go division by division real quickly. We'll just rattle off how we think the five teams in each division finish, and then we'll go on to playoffs and then our awards predictions. So, without further ado, we're going to start in the American League with the AL East. Trey, what do you got?
So my AL East predictions go one, Blue Jays winning the division, followed by the Yankees, followed by the Orioles in third, the Red Sox in fourth, and the Rays in fifth. And here's the kicker. I've got the top four teams in this division all making the playoffs, which is technically
Oh,
possible
it is technically
in the current
possible.
playoff landscape and was how the standings looked halfway through last year. It was the Rays instead of the Orioles in that case, but there were four teams in the AL East in playoff contention at that time. Now, a lot of stuff has to go right for that to happen, but I just could not leave out the Orioles or Red Sox. I really think the O's are going to have a nice bounce back, and this Red Sox team is full of young talent. I feel like they're gonna push through and make the playoffs. So I just like couldn't decide. I basically just couldn't decide between those teams, and I'm looking at the AL Central teams, and I'm just like, maybe this is the year it happens. So that's what I went with.
Yeah, so we didn't share our predictions ahead of time. I will say I flirted with this idea with an NL team or NL division, and I
Okay.
just I just thought there was
It's
that
gonna happen
final
eventually.
spot. It will happen eventually, 100%. But that final spot in the NL, like there's probably going to be like six different teams within 2 games or something like that because the NL
NL's a little bit closer
median,
together, I
yeah,
think.
the
Yeah.
median group of teams are much closer than the AL where you have a lot of disparity. You have your top heavy teams and then your bottom dwellers, and then everyone in the middle is like very, very close together. So I love this idea because to your point, it's going to happen eventually. This is what happens when you only have like 12 to 14 teams trying, any given year. And it's probably even less than that if you really want to dive into it and really nitpick. Um, so I love this, but I pretty much agree. I have the Blue Jays winning, Yanks in second. I have the Red Sox finishing third and the Orioles fourth. So that's swapped. And then the Rays coming in last, but I think the Rays are still going to be a competitive team. It's just one of those reset years that they do every so often, and then they're going to be really good with a $30 million payroll in like 2 years. Um, so yeah, I think the part I disagree with you on is the Orioles. I think they'll still have a good season. I just don't think they're there yet. Mainly the pitching, like
Yeah. Mhm.
you know, we don't have to go
If you're
on
gonna point at one part of their team that
it.
looks a little suspect, it's certainly
Right.
the starting pitching.
Right. And it's like you can go farther with a good pitching staff and average lineup than you can with a good lineup and an average pitching staff.
Yeah, I'm kind of just looking at that as like their team from a couple years ago, where they really didn't have that much pitching that year. I mean, I think that was the year they still had Burns, so they did have an ace. But like their bats kind of carried them to playoffs. Obviously, when they got there, they didn't have the pitching and got smoked. That's a
Mm-hmm.
whole nother story about them winning in the playoffs. But yeah, I'm kind of looking at that and their second half of last year. But yeah, I think them or the Red Sox could easily be 3, 4. I think the Red Sox have the potential to snipe that two spot, honestly, if we're being real. Um, but I think the Yankees are still good
Yeah, they got
enough.
a lot of young guys that just,
Yeah, their
it
range of
depends where
outcomes
they,
is a little
yes,
wider, I think,
100%.
than some of these
Yeah.
other teams.
Within on an individual scale, like where their range of outcomes land will affect, obviously how the team does. But they have so many guys with a high variance
Hmm.
of range of outcomes. So, yeah, I do have the Red Sox making the playoffs, but I have the Orioles on the outside looking in. So AL Central, which is probably one of the more straightforward divisions. Spoiler alert, I am in complete agreement with you. Why don't you take it away?
So I have the Tigers winning the division, breaking through after disappointing at the end of last year. I think they'll get it done this year. Got a slight bounce back for the Royals. I
Mm-hmm.
think their offense is going to be better this year. They moved the fences in a little bit to kind of help their guys. Honestly, more psychologically than anything, because looking at that big ass outfield in Kansas City's got to be pretty rough when you're hitting. Guardians coming in at third. I still think they're a pretty good team, but it's just how many times can they get away with it is basically. I think this is
Yes.
finally the time that they're not going to get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
I have the White Sox coming in at fourth and the Twins at five. I actually like this White Sox pitching development.
Yeah,
I think they had a
not
decent
bad.
offseason.
Mm-hmm.
There's something there. There's something there. I think they could potentially win 70 games this year. And some young dudes in their lineup that are really exciting. Colson Montgomery's fun, and Kyle Teel has looked really good
Mm-hmm.
in his limited action. Unfortunately, I think he's going to start the year on the
Yeah, he's
injured
hurt.
list. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, there is some intrigue there for sure. Don't sleep on the White Sox too hard.
Yeah. But I do agree. I just got the ESPN notification for the Nats trade. It's like, oh, breaking news
Little late.
happened 12 hours ago. Um, but yeah, no, I do agree with you. I think it's the Tigers division to lose in some respects. I do think the Royals will bounce back. Health is a big part of it for them.
Yeah, that's
If
true.
they
Their
keep
pitching
their
staff should be healthier.
right. I think the Guardians take a step back. I think they'll be competitively average is probably the best way to put them. White Sox surprisingly competitive despite what the record may reflect, and then the Twins are just, I mean, poor Byron Buxton, man.
Yeah,
Like he's the
I don't like
captain
the
of a
Twins.
sinking ship. And
I'll go ahead and
listen,
say it. I don't like the
honor.
Twins at all this year.
Yeah, I
It,
love.
it
Yeah, I love Buxton's honor. He does not want to get
I love
traded,
Buxton,
but
but it's just tough. Yeah, it's
yeah,
not looking good. No pitching,
rough,
no real lineup.
rough. I mean, Joe Ryan, but I mean, I
Yeah,
would imagine he's going to
he
get
probably
traded.
gets moved. Yeah,
And then
exactly.
Pablo Lopez is out for the year, I believe, right? I know he's got
He is
injured.
currently injured, so yeah, I'm not
Yes.
sure when he's supposed to be
I
back.
believe he was out for the year. I could be wrong on that, but yeah, agreement there. I won't spoil my wild card teams for the Central and West yet. Because I have only one spot left.
Mine is just the Tigers from that, obviously making that because I already used up all my wild card
Yeah,
spots.
very fair. All right, AL West. I'll take this one. I actually think looking at, oh no, we swapped one. I have the Mariners coming in first, the Rangers in second. I have the Astros in third, the Athletics in fourth, and the Angels in fifth. I like the Mariners a lot. It's very easy to root for that team, and just as a baseball fan, I don't know that there's a more exciting staff in baseball. Um, they can go toe to toe with anyone. And I mean, Luis Castillo, Brian Wu had a great year last year. So I'm not trying to disrespect or throw shade at them, but I don't think like it's not household names either, right? To the average baseball fan. But they have a really, really good pitching staff where like 1 through 5 can really bring it. You want George Kirby to bounce back a little bit, but Logan Gilbert's really good. Um, so it's going to be exciting to see how the Mariners follow up what was a great year, albeit disappointing finish to their season last year. Um, I want them to, it seems like they are doing it, but I want them to really to like double down and push again hard. Because you see some teams where they'll make a run like this and then they kind of take their foot off the gas because that's just baseball. The other one I want to talk about real quick is the Rangers, where they kind of feel like that team that probably should have torn it down a little bit more had after their World Series win. They didn't, and now they're trying to give it another go. Obviously, as Nats fans, we know all too well about the Mackenzie Gore trade. So they really are doubling down and trying to win in whatever their perceived window is with older guys like DeGrom and Seager's getting up there and so on and so forth. They shipped out Marcus Semien for Brandon Nimmo and kind of a salary dump swap, but with them in the Mets. But it does feel like to me the Rangers are going to have just that good enough year. Well, they'll sneak into the playoffs. They have enough vets on their team to where they probably could. It depends on who they go up against. But let's say they go up against the Yankees. I wouldn't be shocked if they upset the Yankees in the playoffs just because of how much veteran presence they have on that team. And obviously they won the World Series a couple of years ago, and they have several guys currently on the roster that were on that World Series winning roster. So I think they're the team that in some ways no one wants to play when they get into the playoffs, but I have the Rangers getting that final spot.
I'm 100% agreeing with everything you said. I don't think a team would want to see them in the playoffs. The key is going to be, will they stay healthy
Right.
enough to get there? Because first of all, they trade a guy who has played almost every day for like the last 7 years. I think last year was like Marcus Semien's first year where he missed games for
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Nimmo, who actually has been more durable than I actually gave him credit for, but he's had injury problems before.
Yeah.
So that's one. Obviously, DeGrom, you have to hope that he stays healthy. He's getting old. Um, but yeah, no, I think they're going to be a good team. I obviously don't have them quite making it, but I have them being pretty competitive. Uh, I think the Astros window has kind of passed them by at this point. And
Agreed.
to be fair, I feel like this is one where it could totally bite me and they could end up winning 90 games.
Also agreed.
Yeah, it's just I don't trust their pitching staff at all right now. Like not besides Hunter Brown,
Mm-hmm.
I really don't. I mean, I don't see much value there.
Even Hunter Brown, and granted, it looks like he's panned out to what they thought he would be. He had a great season last year. But like early on in Hunter Brown's career, it was like painful to the point where it's like, could we or not we, but could they even roster him? It was like really, really bad. But
Yeah, he could totally regress. It could
that's
happen
my
for
point.
sure.
Yeah.
I remember that game he had against the Royals
It
a
was like
couple years
nine.
back where they
Yeah.
scored like 10 runs on him in the
And no
first inning.
outs. Yeah.
Yeah, that was bad. But yeah, he was really good last year, so I'm hoping he can stick with it, but besides him, and even then, he could have some issues. I don't know who's going to really get it done for them pitching wise. And then as far as the A's, I actually like this A's roster quite a bit.
I struggled
Honestly,
with it. Yeah. I almost
the
put, yeah. Mhm.
they could be really good. It's just I don't think the baseball gods will allow a team in a minor league park to make the playoffs and host
Also
playoff
agreed.
games, so I just had to leave them down a little bit. I got them around 500, which feels right. Um, but yeah, no, there's no way they're going to be allowed to make the playoffs
Yeah.
until they get an actual stadium,
Yeah.
um, which apparently is further away than even they thought because they had no idea what they were doing when they did this.
Well, it's
But
almost
that's
like you
a
shouldn't move
it's
cities
it's
without
almost
like a
like
legitimate plan in place.
yeah, exactly. That's a whole nother conversation. We could
Yeah.
go on forever about that. And then
Baseball's
the
so such a mess.
Angels, I'm sure the Angels round out yours as well at the
Oh,
bottom there.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Just not really honestly, probably the least interesting team for me to
You know
talk
what
about.
would not shock me, and it feels like such a match made in heaven, especially now with Kurt Suzuki being the manager, if Mike Rizzo ends up with the Angels somehow. That is
Oh
such a
my
Mike
God.
Rizzo built team.
That is such oh, that would make so much sense for the Angels to do that, dude.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, this is a World Series president GM of, all this stuff."
That's an
Like,
Art Moreno move if I've ever
yeah,
heard one.
he's gonna turn around our franchise, da 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 da, and he just does the same old crap that didn't work here.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I'm the only thing I'm looking at the Angels for is one more really good Mike Trout season. I know he's
Oh
got one more
god.
left. He's got
Yeah,
one more in him. Give it to
needs
me.
it. Needs
Just
it.
one more. That's all we ask for at this point.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the National League, starting in the NL East. This is where we actually do differ, at least with the top three. I think 4 and 5 across the board for most people are the same. But why don't you start with your NL East predictions?
The NL East is weird. I don't really think that the division is that good right now.
I actually do
In
agree with that.
in total. But for now, I have the Mets winning the division, which is probably insane, but I do. The Phillies at number two, also making the playoffs as a wild card team, and I got the Braves at three, Marlins four, Nats obviously bringing up the rear at five. I just I think the Phillies window is closing. I feel like they're getting too old.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna start having regression happen, and their pitching staff is not fully healthy. They obviously lost Ranger Suarez, which was a big loss for them. Um, Having said that, still think they're good enough to make the playoffs and win the division. They're good enough in this NL East to win the division. I just have the Mets slightly edging them out, honestly, because I'm bored with the Phillies and the Braves being on top. The Braves were originally challenging for that playoff spot, but they've had a lot of injuries already, especially in the pitching staff. So I'm a little bit down on them just because of that. It's looking a lot like it looked last year for them at the start of the season, which was not a good start for them. We'll see. They still have a lot of talent on that team, but it's kind of a top-heavy roster with all the injuries they've struggled with. And I like the Marlins a decent bit. It would just be
Mm-hmm.
nice if they would ever do anything to help their team via free agency. I think the Avisail Garcia signing they made a few years back has just completely scared them off of doing anything because he was so bad.
Yeah, he
But
was
it's
really
like,
bad.
come on, guys, that was one signing. Like, let's go. I know how much revenue sharing money you get. Like, you could have signed somebody to help because they got a nice young core with guys that are playing well, and
They're just gonna
they
trade him
surprised
away.
last year. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, we're getting used to that too over
that is
here.
fair.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're at least they're interesting. They got some good pitchers, some interesting players in the lineup. I like Owen Casey addition for them was nice. And then Stowers obviously had the huge season for them. I'm not sure if he's going to do that again, but I think he will be a decent hitter for them. And then Nats bringing up the rear. We already talked enough about them.
Yeah, that is fair. So I think. in many ways this is like the last season where we'll see this kind of iteration of the NL East. And I agree with you, they're not as good as they have been. I think the Phillies, this is their last year winning the division. I saw in your predictions you had the winner at 89 games.
Mm.
It wasn't enough to win the division. I think that sounds about right. High 80s wins the division. So I think it's the Phillies. Honestly, the biggest thing for me was the lineup's still very good, albeit older, still very good. It's Andrew Painter has looked really, really good. Christopher Sanchez was damn near the NL Cy Young last year. So I think they're pitching. Aaron Nola looks to have bounced back, or at least had a good um, World Baseball Classic. So I think the pitching will still be good, and they're going to get Zach Wheeler back at some point. Now, how effective and how good Zach Wheeler is upon his return, he had thoracic outlet syndrome, which
Yeah, that's my big hang up right there.
should send chills down Nats fan spines hearing that. Even though it's obviously a rival, they do plan on him having him back this year. So I don't think he's going to be as dominant as he was when he got injured or prior to the injury, but they're having him back. So I am kind of hedging a little bit, but I do think he'll be solid enough to make a division push. I have the Braves in second. This is just as much about the Mets as it is the Braves. I think the Braves were uncharacteristically bad last year. Like, I think there's going to be progression towards the mean for them, like positive regression, which is, I hate that term because it just doesn't make sense. But I think they're just going to be better because they're super talented. But I do know their staff has a lot of questions as well. And then the Mets, I know they're really, really going for it, but they've really, really gone for it every single year. So it's
This
just
is
kind of
true.
like, I mean, they lost Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor broke his hamate. You're counting on Marcus Semien and Jorge Polanco, who are still quality players at this point in their career, but like, are they really going to be what you need? I doubt it. It's just a lot of questions that uh, I just don't think are going to really be the answers for what the Mets are trying to do. I'm not scared of them at all, and I'm not scared of anyone because I know the Nats are just bad. But like, I'm just not scared of the
There's no
Mets
fear when there's no
whatsoever. Like,
expectations.
I liked the trade, the aggressiveness for Freddie Peralta. That was good because I think I had a very similar stance on them last year where I wasn't impressed by their rotation whatsoever. So getting a legit number one is good for them. But I just don't think it's going to be anything different from what we have seen. Like, going from Edwin Diaz to Devin Williams is a lateral move at best and probably a step down. I mean, definitely a step
Yeah.
down based on what we saw last year, but I do think Devin Williams will be better than he was with the Yankees. Um, if not, as good as probably not as good as he was with the Brewers, but better than he was with the Yankees. So I don't know. It just feels like they're trying to swap different pieces and expecting these huge, sweeping changes. And it's just, that's not how it works. You have to actually build it. You can't just, well, it sounds funny when I say you can't just buy it, but even the Dodgers, like, they have so much that they've built and traded for, then they supplement with free agency. So I know the Dodgers are like a sore subject for most baseball fans, but you know, I bring up
They win
them,
for a reason, man.
right. I bring up them with the Mets because the Mets, their payroll's right there. Everyone wants to blame the Dodgers, and I get it. It's annoying. You know, we'll talk about them here in a minute, but the Mets are just trying to skip steps. Like, you have to build it. You have to have something sustainable at first. And they have some nice young pieces. We'll see how McLean fits in that rotation if he can kind of, be a guy for them in the rotations. Carson Bench is, I think, presumed to be starting in a corner spot. So they have some nice young pieces, but they're still trying to skip steps. So I don't think it's going to happen for them this year. And then, yeah, Marlins and Nats to round out the NL East.
Yeah, my last thing about the Mets is the reason I have them up here is because I do believe that their pitching development is pretty strong. I feel like they're going to be bringing a lot of guys into their bullpen that you've never heard of that end up being really good for them. Um,
They
sort
traded
of.
Jonah Tong, right?
No, they traded Sproat for
Sprout.
Freddie
Okay.
Peralta. They still have
Okay.
Tong. So
They have to.
Tong's
I couldn't
not.
remember if they kept Sprout
Yeah,
or
Tong's
traded
not going to
Tong.
start with the major league team, but he probably we'll see him at some point this year.
Yeah, I
Um,
like his stuff too. So yeah, it certainly could.
Yeah,
I just
my
don't
pick
think it's
depends
yeah.
on their pitching development being as strong as people think that it is. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm coming from there because the lineup is is still really good, but like yeah, you're right. There was a lot of lateral moves. So it's all going to kind of come down to the pitching development to push them over the top for me. And
Yeah.
even then, like I said, like 89 wins is like that's enough to get you
It
a
wouldn't
win.
shock me to see them win the division. It's like they're gonna hang a division title banner and they're gonna have like an 87 win
Yeah,
season.
there's
Like
just no clear-cut answer here between the top three, in my opinion, because
yeah,
of
agreed.
just there's factors for each one of them that are just like they're not none of them are fully complete teams.
Yep.
But
Uh,
someone's got to win that division, so
Somebody has to win it.
it's gonna be Mets,
Matt's
Phillies,
here,
or
baby.
Braves.
All right,
Coming through to snipe it.
let's move on to the NL Central. Mostly in agreement. I think it comes down to 1 and 2, and I agree with you. It's going to be neck and neck. I have the Brewers capturing the division title. I have the Cubs right behind them. I have the Pirates in third, which I think is a popular pick, but I think even still a surprising pick because it's the Pirates. The Reds in fourth, and the Cardinals in fifth.
Yeah, I have the only swap there for me is having the Cubs win the division, the Brewers coming in second. Brewers still, in my projections, make playoffs and win 90 games because
Mm-hmm.
that's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really matter what
Agreed.
the
I have the
roster
Cubs
looks
in.
like, they just kind of show up and win. So
Yep.
I think the Cubs have done enough now with the Bregman signing, and they traded as well for Edward Cabrera from the Marlins to help their
Mm-hmm.
pitching staff at a hefty price, I will say.
Very.
But for a win now move, I get it. And I think that it's going to push them over the top and they're going to win the division. And yeah, the Pirates are really fun, man, because they are definitely better. I feel like, on paper at least. Obviously, we have to wait and see what happens. But their pitching staff should be full of electric young arms. Obviously, Paul Skeens is one of the best pitchers any of us have ever seen in our lives, so that helps. But you get Bubba Chandler in there in his first full season. I don't know if Jared Jones is healthy yet, but if he is, that's a great number three to have. Um, and then the lineup is still not incredible, but I think defensively and pitching wise, is going to be their bread and butter. They're going to win a lot of low scoring games, I think. And it's going to be interesting to see it. Like there's definitely an outside possibility that they make a little wild card run and make the playoffs potentially if their pitching staff is truly as good as their potential. So
Mm-hmm.
that's they're a very interesting team. Certainly going to be watching them a lot more than I have in the past this year.
Yeah, they're exciting. And I think they're feeling it, knowing you have one of, if not the best pitcher in baseball. You have young, exciting prospects. Connor Griffin will probably be up with the
Yeah,
team
I
at
didn't.
some
Yeah, oh my
point.
God, dude.
And I mean, Seth Hernandez won't be up at this point or in this season, but he looks electric. And first pitch the other day was 102.
Yeah, you
And
saw that
he's
Max
what,
Clark clip.
yeah, he's like what, 18, 19 years old.
Yeah,
Um,
there's some talent in
yeah, there's
that
some
farm
legit
system.
talent. So I think they're starting to feel it. The guy's an absolute scumbag, but like Marcelo Zuna does something to that lineup, to where Skeens might get some run support, right? Like,
They just need a little bit. That
right.
pitching
One
staff just
one
needs a
swing of the
little.
bat from Ozuna is like the most run support Paul Skeens has ever had in any start in his career. So yeah, it's I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but I think they'll certainly be exciting enough to watch. And I hope for Paul Skeens' sake, like the Pirates start trying a little bit more. I do hate the way they kind of did Andrew McCutchen dirty. I thought it was such a nice story to have him back, albeit year to year, and for them to kind of just be like, we're done.
Yeah, the
I thought,
organization still operates in a shitty manner. Let's not
yeah,
get it twisted,
yeah,
but
100%.
they should be better this year.
Real quick, the other thing, I think the Cardinals, they know they're in full reset mode. That not much to say there, but the Reds had a nice season last year. I love Tito. I think he's um, going through real quick. Honestly, I would, if I'm starting up a MLB franchise tomorrow, I'm probably taking Tito as manager. I think he's still one of the best managers in baseball. Um, but it just, especially with the Hunter Green injury, like I, I, I don't know how I feel about this Reds team in terms of competing. I just don't think there's enough there personally.
Yeah, pitching staff's a little rough,
Very,
especially with the Green injury.
very. So, yeah, I think it'll be a more exciting NL Central, but it will still come down to the Cubs and Brewers. And I still have the Brewers slightly ahead. Um, I think their system for developing guys and arms in particular is going to be really good. We'll see how Mizorowski does this year with a full season or presumed full season. And yeah, they have some Brandon Sproat, who we just mentioned. Like they have some young arms that
Yeah, they'll
could.
show up. They'll five of their pitchers you've never heard of
Right.
will post like a sub
Exactly my
three
point.
ERA
They
this
also
year.
traded for Kyle Harrison from the Red Sox.
Oh, goody. Yeah, no,
Um,
they'll turn him into a freaking beast.
right. Like he was a highly touted prospect from the Giants. He was involved in the Rafael Devers trade. The Red Sox didn't really use him and then immediately shipped him off to the Brewers. And anytime the Brewers trade for a prospect
It's like,
or
oh,
like,
here we go
yeah, it's like, oh,
again.
here we go. So, um, I think going from Kyle Tucker to Alex Bregman, which I applaud the Cubs for trying to do something to replace Tucker because they weren't competing with that contract that the Dodgers gave him. I applaud them, but I do think it's a slight step down. I don't think Bregman's going to be as good as he was last year. Um, so I think they'll still be competitive, but I don't think they're going to take over the Brewers this year. All right, NL West, the Dodgers. We're in agreement there, so it's really just 2 through 4.
Believe it or not, guys, the Dodgers might win that division.
Yeah, seriously. I think the surprise. I don't know if it's a surprise, but I have the Giants in second, the Padres in
Dude.
third, the Diamondbacks in fourth, and the Rockies. So 1 and 5 in this division aren't a surprise. It's really 2 through 4 how you shake it or whatever your flavor is. I still like the Padres. It just feels like if they were gonna figure it out, they would have already. It's sort of, I know that's not the most analytical, hard hitting, stance, but like it just feels like the Padres have a lot of talent. They don't have a lot of anything else really. That's kind of how I feel. I love a lot of guys on their team, but the Giants, on the other hand, they have these random spike years, and to me, it just feels like they're really trying. They may not be good enough, and they may not be good in general, but they're really trying. And I think that this year is going to be a spike year. They've added some pieces. They've added some pieces in the rotation. Specifically, Logan Webb is still one of the best pitchers in the National League. Um, I think Weiss is
They
Patrick
took the
Bailey.
flyer on Tyler Malley, by the way, that we were
Yes, they
talking about.
did. They did. Is Patrick Bailey their catcher?
Yeah, he's still the catcher.
Okay. Yeah, I think he's one of the best defensive catchers in baseball, which says something, especially with the way the game is played today. So I like a lot of their pieces. You know, little foreshadowing. I'm going to talk about one of their pieces once we get into the award portion of our
Ooh, fun.
predictions. But I just think it's a random spike year for the Giants, and they really are trying to win games. It's just no one wants to play in San Francisco.
I came so close to putting them in second on mine as well. I really wanted to do it, and at the end of the day, I was just like, I think the Padres have just too much
I agree.
too many
They
great
have a lot.
players.
The Padres have the names, and if they
Yeah,
come in
and
second, it's certainly not a
yeah,
surprise.
every time I looked at the rosters side by side, I was just like, I just don't know if I can do it. But the one thing I will say is that the Padres starting rotation is a huge question mark this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Musgrove
Michael
coming
King is
back.
their number one. He's
Darvish
a good pitcher.
is Darvish gone?
Darvish is gone, I
Yeah,
think, or he's hurt or something. I'm pretty sure he's just
yeah.
gone.
Musgrove is going to start the year on the injured list, and even still,
Yeah.
you don't know how he's going to be.
And then their bottom three is like Randy Vasquez, who was
Random
decent for them, but has horrible underlying
metric. Yeah,
numbers.
yeah,
And then Walker Bueller is apparently in
yeah.
there, going to be
He's
in the rotation,
yep.
which he was really bad last year. And Herman Marquez gets a spot, and he was really bad last year, but obviously he's playing in
Not
cores
Colorado.
for his
Yeah.
whole career, so that's you never know. So yeah, that's looking rough. Their bullpen is still super elite. The
Mm-hmm.
one thing that could be their downfall is if the bullpen just has to pick up too many innings, because
Which
the
seems like
starters
a
just,
likelihood.
which it does, and it was last year too, but they managed to kind of work through it and still be one of the best in baseball. So it's kind of comes down to that. I still think they do enough to get it done and make the playoffs. Um, but yeah, I do like that Giants team is fun. I do think there's a ton of potential there, and yeah, like you said, they sometimes the Giants are just randomly really good, and that
Mm-hmm.
could totally happen. There's no doubt that sometimes they just show up and win, and you're just like, okay, I guess that's happening.
And
Um,
with the Giants, like I do think Bob Melvin's a really good manager. I just think
yes,
he's not everyone's cup of tea, right?
I
With
agree. I like Bob Melvin.
hence the different stops, the Padres being one of them. So a team like the Giants, where again I'm not involved with that organization whatsoever, but it seems like they really want to win, and Bob Melvin has won in his career, like what 2 or 3 time manager of the year. Like he's a good manager, so that's part of it. It's a gut feeling with the Padres. Yeah, pitching's the big question. We didn't talk about this because obviously we were kind of on sabbatical, given the Nats, craziness last year. The trade for Mason Miller. Two things can be true. Mason Miller is the best reliever in baseball, and at this rate is going to be one of the best relievers of this era. The Padres are dumb to trade for him. Like I think both can be really true. Like Mason Miller is like the final piece. If the Granted, I don't know if he would be the final piece in the Yankees, but if the Yankees traded for him or like the Blue Jays last year traded for him, okay, makes sense. But the Padres having never even really, well, they got close a few years ago, but like not basically, long story short, like Mason Miller wasn't the final piece, and we're seeing that now because they still have Mason Miller, and there's even more problems with this roster than there were last year. So yeah, we'll see if they can even get the ball to Mason Miller with a lead, or are they going to get creative and pitch him in the seventh when the game's tied, or which I doubt it. I'm just kind of throwing things out there because they might have to get creative with their pitching.
Yeah, certainly if their starting rotation ends up being poor,
Yeah,
Musgrove doesn't come back healthy or anything, any number of factors really that could
and they
push their
can't really
bullpen into
swing
a bad
another big
spot.
trade either.
Yeah, well, you'd think so. I don't know. Crazier things have
I
happened,
guess
I
that's
guess,
I
but
guess a trade only takes one dance partner,
they
but
keep making moves when you don't think they have anyone.
well, they
So
keep
I don't know.
producing top prospects.
That's also
What
true. Their player development has been
Leo
pretty good.
DeVries is who they traded for Mason Miller. Is like not the top prospect, but one of the top prospects, number 3, I think,
Yeah,
in
they
baseball.
don't mind making a trade, that's for sure. Them and the
No,
Mariners
never
just
have,
love trading.
never have. All right, let's jump through. We'll talk World Series. I mean, I hate this. I love it, but I hate it. We have the same World Series, just so you know. Um, I have Blue Jays over Dodgers. Trey has Blue Jays over Dodgers. My thing is this: I can't see anyone getting past the Dodgers. The Dodgers, Mookie Betts could get hurt. Kyle Tucker could get hurt. Like any single one of their players get hurt. Shoot, even 2 of their players might get hurt, and they still would probably still be the best team in baseball. Um, the roster is absolutely loaded, like, unlike any roster we've seen in modern day baseball. The pitching. I think there's some questions with their pitching, but does it really matter? No, like it really doesn't matter. Um, so I just don't see anyone beating the Dodgers in the NL. Talked about how down the NL East looks, and that was their biggest competition for years. You know, It would be nice if the Cubs or Brewers could challenge him. I just don't see it. So it's the Dodgers in the NL, and then the AL. I loved the Blue Jays last year. They were so freaking close to taking down the Dodgers. They're one of, in my mind, two or three teams that would have a shot, and all those teams are in the AL. So it's just a matter of can the Blue Jays come out on top in the AL? And they were super aggressive. I talked about the Mariners doubling down. The Blue Jays doubled down and went and got Dylan Cease to try to shore up their rotation. So I'm super excited to see the kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Just the follow up season the Blue Jays have, and I think this year the good guy prevails. Give me the Blue Jays over the Dodgers.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta admit it. I was totally wrong about the Blue Jays last year. I thought that their window had closed and that they were going to potentially fall out of the playoff race, and I was completely wrong. So I'm not gonna make that mistake again, and I'm gonna put them in the World Series against the Dodgers. Plus, this is what I want to happen. After the way it ended, I want them to get their revenge and win that series
100%.
and get a W. And I like the Blue Jays in general, so
It would
I'm
be so
totally
good
cool with
for
them winning.
baseball, like with all the Dodgers narrative. And I think again, two things can be true. You can hate the Dodgers for what they're doing, and also just understand that the Dodgers are taking advantage of a broken system, and
They're playing the game how
they're
it was
playing the
intended.
game that was laid out in front of them. Right, exactly. But it
Yeah.
would be so good for baseball in general if the Dodgers don't win this year.
Yeah, I
Like
mean, I would
I'm
be
sorry.
I
I'm
would
not
be
trying to
cool
be
if
that
they
guy.
just don't make the World Series at all. But if they are basically a given out of the NL, which the National League is definitely weaker than the American League. I don't think it's even
No.
really that close. So the Blue Jays will have a tougher battle to get there. But if the Dodgers have to make the World Series, I hope it's against the Blue Jays, and I hope the Blue Jays beat them. And that's that. That's pretty
I
much
think
why I put this as mine. This is what I want.
I think the AL playoffs are going to be absolutely electric.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, I mean, they were unbelievable
they're
last year,
unbelievable
but
last year.
like, yeah, it's coming again.
I'm not again. I don't think this has ever happened because I'm sure we would have heard about it. It would not shock me if every single AL series, like all throughout the playoffs, goes the distance. 5 games, 7 games, 3 games, whatever it may be. I think every single one is going to go to the distance. It's just going to be
Yeah,
an absolute bloodbath in
there's
the
just
AL.
there's just a lot more great teams.
Yeah, 100%. Um, the Tigers pitching looks really, really good. We talked about the Mariners. The Rangers have the veteran guys that can get it done. The Yankees, obviously, quality team. The Red Sox, we think, are going to have a quality season. It's going to be really, really fun in the AL.
Yeah, and then we also have our awards predictions for both leagues. I'll let you start with the American League. Who's your Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, and MVP?
All right. In that order, the Rookie of the Year. Um, So a theme with my picks, I'll preface by saying like I tried not to go with the favorite, especially Cy Young and MVP. I think Otani, Judge, Scooball, and Skeens are so far ahead the favorites or the popular picks. I tried to maybe I guess dark horse might be a way to do it. Rookie of the year, Trey Savage. I think is I haven't looked today, but the betting leader had a great playoffs for the Blue Jays last year. One guy I think could, if it wasn't you Savage, which rookie of the year always seems to be random every single year. Chase DeLauder, the
Hmm.
outfielder for the Guardians, seems like a guy. We talked about the Guardians potentially taking a step back. Outfield has always been. Not always, but in recent years, seems to be an area of need for them. So he could have an opportunity, especially if they decide to trade Stephen Kwan, which it sounds like they were flirting
Yeah,
with.
didn't
Um,
even think about that. That
yeah,
could totally
so that
happen.
might present an opportunity because Quan obviously has value, but Gold Glove defense, and I think he's won it 4 years in a row, and on base machine. So it seems like if they take a step back, trading him makes sense. So Chase DeLauder is the name I wanted to throw out there, but I do like Trey Savage's odds. The AL Cy Young is I wanted to like go super fun, and so I had a name in mind, and then I looked it up, and somehow it's it's Tark Skubal one, Garrett Crochet too. Both make sense. This guy is three, and I thought I was picking a dark horse. Jacob DeGrom has the third best odds to win the Cy Young at 38 years old. What? No, I'm not taking DeGrom anymore. But he was in my mind. I thought I was going to pick a dark horse, because he had a
That
very
is pretty
solid
crazy. Third is pretty crazy.
underrated season last year, like a 2.970. All right, but he's 38. Cy Young's probably
Top 10 maybe, like that
yeah, I
makes
think he was
sense.
eighth last year.
Yeah, but
Um,
third is a little
so
crazy.
it's hard to go too much of a dark horse for the bigger awards. I took Max Fried. He was damn near close
Yeah,
last year,
that's
but
fun.
his odds are he's sixth right now. It's Scuball, Crochet, DeGrom, Cole Ragans, Hunter Brown, and then Max Fried is sixth, or I guess tied for
Hunter
fifth with
Brown
Hunter
above him.
Brown.
That is
Yeah, it's nuts. So I guess in this case, I'm taking value. I think Max Fried is enormous value to win Cy Young. And then the MVP, I think I've taken this guy in the 6 years we've done this show or some iteration of the show. I've taken him probably five
I'm pretty
times.
sure I know who this
Give
is.
me the Vlad wagon. Give me Vladimir Guerrero Jr. This is the year, baby. It's gonna happen.
Oh, I'd love it. I would love it. Yeah, I knew exactly who you're talking about as soon as you said. I pick this guy like every year.
Yeah,
Yep, makes sense. That's a good pick. That's a way more fun than mine because mine are lame. My rookie of the year is not as lame. I'm going with catcher Carter Jensen from the Royals. I actually wanted to go with Caglione, but he played too many games last year, so he doesn't qualify. I think he's going to have a huge bounce back this year.
agreed.
Um, and then unfortunately, my Cy Young pick isn't Scooble, so a little
Crochet.
bit not boring, but yeah, I'm going Crochet. It is just, I
He
think
was
that,
very good.
yeah, he was, first of all, he was close to winning. Second, um, any player winning three Cy Youngs in a row is extremely rare. It's
Also
happened
fair.
like two or three times in the history of the game. So
Yeah,
I was kind
very
of
fair.
like, yeah, he could totally do it because he's that good, but like, first of all, you have that history working against you, and then you have voter fatigue, obviously working against you. As people are like, "Oh, here he is again. I don't want to vote for him,"
I
which
also
is
sorry, go ahead.
similar with my MVP pick, Aaron Judge, which is pretty much if Aaron Judge continues to hit like he hits, then the only reason he wouldn't win is if you have like a crazy all-time outlier season like Raleigh did last year, which is why it was close,
But it still wasn't
or
enough.
voter fatigue.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind
It
of
would
where I'm
have to be
going
like a
there.
triple crown, which
Yes,
I mean,
rare, extremely
rare.
rare.
But yeah, Cal Raleigh was a catcher with 60 home runs and couldn't pull it off. So it tells
Exactly.
you what you did though. I was gonna point about Scooball. I think Framber Valdez is gonna have a really, really solid season.
Yeah,
So
that Tigers pitching staff is
right. So I
really
don't
good.
know that he's gonna steal first place votes necessarily from Scooball, but I do think, having a second legitimate Tigers pitcher that probably, at least I'm thinking, will get some Cy Young votes, might help a non-Tigers pitcher, in this case Crochet, leapfrog him. So
Yeah, the thing
um,
about Valdez as well is that this Tigers defense is really good.
and it's
So
not
and
it's not a hitter friendly park.
yeah, and he's a guy who, he'll strike out a decent number of guys, but the guys are putting the ball in play against him, especially on
Mhm.
on the infield dirt. So pretty good defense behind him to help him out there as well.
Yeah. All right. Why don't you do your boring picks for the NL?
Yeah, my boring picks for the NL are, yeah, my rookie of the year, which is never really that boring
No,
because you
no.
never really know who's going
The
to
other
win
two.
that. But I'm going with, and this is entirely predicated on his World Baseball Classic performance. I just happened to see he played really well during that, and I was like, let's go. We're going with outfielder Owen Casey, who the Marlins recently acquired from the Cubs. He had a really good World Baseball Classic hitting, and he had one of the nastiest relays I have ever seen. I don't know if you saw
Yep.
that relay. Yeah, dude, I was freaking out. It was one of the best relays I've ever seen. Casey to Otto Lopez to catcher. Crazy, crazy relay. If you guys have seen that, you know what I'm talking about. But basically, I saw him play really well in that, and I was like, if he's going to play really well in this tournament, perhaps he is ready for the bigs. So, um, yeah, a lot of young guys on the Marlins that are just interesting. Uh, I don't think again. I feel like they could go 500 and no one. It wouldn't really be that surprising, but that's probably the cap on their record because they just don't have the high end talent to supplement it. But then my boring picks: Cy Young, Paul Skeens. I mean,
Yeah. I hear you.
I mean, I just
I
was
hear you.
like, this is one
Yeah.
of the best pitchers I've ever seen in my life. So,
Uh-huh.
you're looking at a potential inner circle Hall of Famer already, and he's like 23. Maybe I'm being overzealous in saying that, but like it really feels like
It's funny
he
how
knows
he
how
was
to pitch,
actually
man.
worse last year than the year before. He went from a
Yeah, it's
197 to a 198.
yeah, just yeah, honestly
Terrible.
send him packing. Yeah,
Terrible.
DFA him.
Hmm.
But he's like it's just his ability, like his stuff is obviously incredible, but the way he pitches, he knows exactly how to pitch. He knows how to locate, he knows how to sequence, he knows how to tunnel at such a young age, and you're only going to see him get a higher workload as his career progresses. So it wouldn't surprise me if he hits the 200 inning mark this
Yep.
year. Um, Christopher Sanchez was another guy I looked at just to have some fun.
Recently paid.
Yeah, and he's just his improvement. He's just steadily improved every year. And if
Hmm.
that trend were to continue, he'd be pushing Skeens for the Cy Young. But even then, I just could not go away from Skeens there.
Yep.
And then MVP. Could you possibly guess
Hmm.
who my MVP choice is in the National League? It's Ohtani because
Right.
he pitches and he hits, and that's pretty much all you need to know.
Yep. No, I hear you. I like if I'm trying to guess for accuracy, I'm going Skeens and Otani. Like
Yeah,
so, I'm
I'm
just
sure you had more fun picks than me though.
no, 100%. I'm going fun picks. My rule, like I said, I was no Judge, no Otani, no Skeens, no Screwball is how I'm operating. So starting with my rookie of the year, Chase DeLauder in the AL JMU guy. I'm picking another local guy, the aforementioned Giants player. Give me Bryce Eldridge, the
Ooh,
local
okay.
guy. Um, I, I think if he taps into some of that power, which he certainly has, I know he's young. Speaking of a guy that really flew through the minor leagues, he can really do some damage in that ballpark. Favorable to lefties. Um, so give me Bryce Eldridge, rookie of the year in the NL. Cy Young. This is a fun one. I think you'll love this. Give me Sandy Alcantara.
Oh yes, you know I love Sandy. I
Yeah,
would love the bounce back season. Come on.
he started so bad last year that I think he was like just kind of written off in a lot of people's minds. But he had like a solid finish,
He did.
not to the point where he was like dominant. This is the Cy Young Award winner Sandy that we know, but it was much better second half of the season. So I think another year removed from Tommy John, we'll start to see him bounce back. And I guess you could say I'm going off odds. Let's see where he's at right now. So in the NL, the odds are holy hell, these odds are crazy, dude. What the heck? Okay, so he's way down there, but Skeens 1, Yamamoto 2, Sanchez 3. All right, fine. You got Chris Sale 4. Okay. I mean, I guess he just won it a couple of years ago. So Webb 5. You have Zach Wheeler 6th. Okay. What? Freddie Peralta 7th, Snell 8th, Luzardo 9th. We didn't talk about Luzardo much, but he could be solid for the Phillies this year.
I actually literally always forget that
Yeah.
he got traded there for some reason.
Mizorowski 10th, Otani. So Mizorowski, Otani, Strider, all right there, which Strider or Otani, for that matter, winning would be crazy. I mean, Otani has a talent. I don't think he'll have the innings.
Yeah,
Uh,
he won't.
Yuri Perez, Zach Allen, Michael King, Nick Pivetta, Nolan McLean, Tyler Glasnow, Chase Burns, Edward Cabrera, Nick Lodolo. Oh, and then there's Sandy.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
To have a
Sandy
former
plus 5,000?
I
Give me
get
that.
I get the numbers weren't good, but like you can't have a former Cy Young winner behind freaking Nick
Plus
Pivetta,
five and
man.
healthy. Plus 5,000. You have Zach Wheeler 6. Zach Wheeler's great. He's coming off thoracic
Yeah,
outlet.
we
The
have no
death
idea
curse
how
for
much
pitchers.
he's going to pitch.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, hammer Sandy Alcantara 5,000 plus
Easily worth
5,000.
like a sprinkle at least.
100%. Yeah, I probably shouldn't say hammer that. Someone's gonna get mad at me, but yeah. Anyways, definitely a dark horse. There's my true dark horse, and then the NL MVP. I was kind of all over the place. I'd be curious to see these odds behind obviously Otani. Um, Similar theme, former winner. Give me Ronald Acuna Jr.
Well, I mean, his offensively, he's still an elite player.
Hmm.
Um, it's pretty much yeah, it's pretty much predicated on health. Like his defense has dropped obviously with the many injuries. He still has a cannon out there. It's just his range has not been as good, but it's not really
It's
gonna
not,
matter that much
yeah,
if he rakes and steals 40 bases.
right.
So
That's what yeah, that's kind of what I'm
that's what
thinking.
the voters are looking at. They're looking at the fun numbers.
Yeah. Yeah. I think trying to pull it up right. He's third, so it's not like a crazy, but Lindor's still fifth in odds. Carroll's still tied for fifth in odds. Both those guys have handmade injuries. A lot of handmade injuries earlier this year.
Yeah, I know, man.
Um,
It's a new
but
trendy injury.
I will say I have to mention him at least once. I had to go Vladdy just because of loyalty, but we talked about Judge who can do it. I think Bobby Witt can really, really do it.
Yeah,
It
Bobby
just it
Witt.
just wasn't fun because he's the second best odds, but I really, really like Bobby
I
Witt.
feel so bad for Bobby Witt.
Yeah.
The timing of which he has come up and broken out, it could not be worse when you have
Hmm.
literally maybe some of the best right-handed hitting seasons ever from Judge. Like Bobby Witt had like a 10 WAR
I
season
know.
and he couldn't win the MVP because of Judge.
I
So like
know.
obviously in like most years he probably has two. Like last year wasn't quite as good, but it was still like a median MVP year. He was like 8 WAR. So it's like
Yeah.
yeah, obviously we have to mention him. And he was his defense in the World Baseball Classic was unbelievable.
Dude, yeah. Back to
Defensively,
back diving plays or
he might be one of the best shortstops ever when it's all said and done in terms of
mhm.
defense. It's crazy, especially considering he wasn't that great in his rookie year. His improvement has been unbelievable.
I know.
Um, and then obviously he can hit really well. They're moving the fences in. Maybe get him a 40 bomb season would be cool. Um, because like he's definitely capable of it. It's just the ballpark he plays in half his games is brutal for hitting. And then he's a freak on the bases. So just I mean, what else can you say? He's just a perfect all around player.
I know he's so good. So yeah, some of these I'm like scrolling through. Like you have Julio Rodriguez as the fourth best odds. No, like I
Yeah, I don't
think
know about fourth. I mean, I like
yeah,
Julio a lot,
I
but
do
he's
too.
he's
But
got
like
his
ahead of Jose
inconsistencies.
Ramirez, no.
Yeah, well, I love J Ram, so
And another again, I'm just kind of I guess dragging this out. We can move on, but I think Nick Kurtz is another fun one. Minor league park. You
yeah.
can
Well,
put in some
that's
like
the
video game numbers.
that's that A's lineup, man.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking about when I was just like I don't think their pitching staff can hold
Junior
up, but
Caminero, another one, had 40 home runs
oh
last
yeah.
year. Yeah, there's some fun. I mean, shoot, even Pete Alonso, if
There's
he
so
puts
much
up,
great talent in
yeah,
this league right now. It's
yeah,
unbelievable.
a lot of fun stuff. So, yeah, official predictions. I can't wait to revisit these or absolutely not revisit them if we were just way off. But you kind of went chalk. So if
Yeah,
you're
mine are
wrong, everyone
boring.
was wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Mine are like I should have had more fun with it, but this is genuinely what I
Yeah,
think is going to
yeah, no,
happen.
I actually do agree with you for what it's worth. All right, let's wrap this episode. We're going to continue with prediction themes, but we're going to bring it back to Nat's theme and do Nat's team award. So we'll do Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, and MVP for the Nats. The one preface we have for the Nats is the Rookie of the Year. I think we're both in agreement. Harry Ford's gonna be up at some point and will probably end up being the starter. So just to keep it a little bit more fun, let's pick a rookie of the year besides Harry Ford. So I'll let you go first. Who's your rookie of the year for the Nats?
Yeah, my rookie of the year besides Harry Ford is Abby Ortiz, who was one of the trade pieces in the Gore trade. I think at some point this team's going to be like, hey, we have absolutely no home run power. Maybe we should call up a guy who's hit 30 plus in the minors 2 years in a row,
Mm-hmm.
and just get some thump in that lineup. Uh, he's not starting with the team, obviously,
Right.
but I would not be surprised to see him around the trade deadline or maybe before that, depending on, if we have some guys with injuries. Obviously, injuries happen to every team, so um, yeah, wouldn't surprise me, especially we have a kind of an open DH as well right now. I mean, that's going to be a kind of a rotation of guys, I would assume. Whoever's hot at the time, perhaps, or the
Mm-hmm.
best platoon option. But maybe at some point you want to go a permanent spot there. He could potentially do that if he's hitting well. So I went with him for that reason. I think the thump in that bat is real.
Yeah, I went with a guy I talked about on last episode, Seaver King. I think he had a very promising, albeit small sample size, but that's kind of what spring training is. It's a ton of small
I know
sample
he's looked pretty
sizes,
good.
but he looked really good. And I mentioned last year, and even I brought up the Keith Law thing about a respected, evaluator of prospects having Seaver King still in his top 100 prospects because he's a really good player. Um, at the time, I will hand up. I'm not trying to say like I've always been on Seaver King. I didn't like the pick based on where the board was. But the thing with drafting Seaver King is his floor is so freaking high.
Yeah,
He
for
went
sure.
to Wake Forest, which is a powerhouse. Like he played the best of the best. He played in the Cape Cod League in the summer, which is the best of the best. And he performed at every single level. Right. He did not have a great start to his professional career in the minors. I get that. I understand, if you're low on him and why he's kind of fallen out of uh, your off your radar. But I think he's a guy specifically that will improve, and you can kind of already see it has improved so much just based on the Nats becoming a modern era player development team with all the technology and forward thinking and analytics and all this stuff. We've seen it with him that we're gone are the days where we're just like, oh, make contact, da, 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 da. Like we're actually playing the game smart and developing guys. And but the other half, similar to your Ortiz pick, is opportunity. Like I don't
Hmm.
think there's outfield opportunity for some of the young outfielders that might be promising, but they're not going to play because our outfield is young and also for the most part promising. Third base, no. Uh, catcher, we talked about Harry Ford, but other catchers, no. Like pitchers, I think they're also too young. You have Susana and Sikora and some other guys, but I think most of our talent is too young. So the biggest avenue that I see is middle infield, right? And you mentioned the Nats really wanting or seemingly wanting to prioritize defense. Seaver King is a really good defender too,
Hmm.
and he has positional versatility, right? In theory, he could play center field. But he can certainly play second base if you want to leave CJ at short, or if they're ready to move CJ to second, Seaver King could go play short, right? So in my mind, I don't see um I don't think it's that hard to imagine Seaver King being better than Nasim Nunez or Jose Tena. So I think opportunity has a large part, and if he continues to um, on the track that he's shown recently and really turn things around, I think he could be up on this team sooner rather than later. So I'm fully on the Seaver King train. I think even if his ceiling's not all that high, his floor is really high, and he can be a quality major leaguer.
Yeah, I mean, I love that pick. I love what you say about the floor there because he just needs to be an average bat.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, he could probably be slightly below average with his ability to run and field. Like that's kind of how I feel about a lot of the guys on our roster right now, like Jacob Young or Nasim Nunez, is like their value is predicated on just hitting enough.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, like
Because they're fast and they play defense.
Jacob Young is one of the best center fielders in the league in terms of his fielding. There's no doubt, but you can't have a 66 WRC
Yeah.
plus. Like I was I was actually looking at Miles Straw's page earlier because
Yeah.
him and Jacob Young are exactly the same. Like, no doubt, elite center field. Finally, Miles Straw last year gets his WRC plus up to like 90, and then all of a sudden he is fully valuable because like
Right.
if you can just do enough, if you can get on base 33% of the time, which isn't even that great, but that's like good enough. So that's kind of where a lot of the team makeup looks like. Nasim Nunez is similar, like obviously a small sample size, but he WRC plus a 94 last year. If he can put that on for a whole year with his defensive versatility and base running, good player. So that's the same exact thing I see with Seaver King is like, can he just hit enough? I think it's kind of predicated on being like a high batting average guy.
Mm-hmm.
His swing is definitely more suited for that. I think there's a definitely a role where he can get that done. Just do enough. offensively so that your defense can shine and your base running can shine. So
Yep.
I like that pick a lot.
Yep. All right, let's move on to the Nats team Cy Young. I will also preface by saying I tried not to pick any of the guys you picked. So I
Okay.
wanted to just make it fun. So I went a little bit deeper because obviously there's the one obvious choice that I think will be
Which is
the
mine.
yeah will be the popular pick is the better way to put it. But after that, there's really not much, at least on paper. So I tried to dig deep. A theme with my picks is who's going to benefit the most from this new regime and the way they do business, the way they develop, the way they teach the game. And I think for something like Cy Young, there has to be a pedigree, right? There has to be some sort of talent, for lack of a better term, right? And there's one guy that stands out more than the rest, and that's Cole Henry. Cole Henry
Okay.
was a second round pick and has the stuff. And I know, he's battled injuries throughout his career, and just him being healthy and staying up with the team was like a huge accomplishment, right? But now we're another year removed. He's had almost a full season under his belt. Someone's got to close games. Someone's got to be a high leverage reliever, and it would make sense to me for that to be Cole Henry. He pitched to LSU in the SAC against great competition. Again, I know that was before injury, but he has the ability where everyone else is a journeyman, and you're a journeyman because you can't stick with the team, right? Not that they can't be valuable or won't be valuable, but Cole Henry is the one that really stands out to me as a guy that really could benefit from this new regime, especially with Griff McGarry now gone. Like he was another one that could have sort of fit into that category. So Cy Young might be a stretch in terms of like overall numbers, similar to like the Josiah Gray All Star numbers,
Oh
but
yeah.
I do think Cole Henry can have a very, very solid season and emerge as the go to guy out of this bullpen.
Yeah, I think I like a bullpen pick. I was actually weighing potentially going Brad Lord here
Yeah, that was
for
another one. Mm-hmm.
just a different type of pick.
Importance would have been
Yeah,
Brad
because
Lord's thing.
I wouldn't say I'm expecting Lord to be like a sub 3 ERA guy or anything, but he's going to pick up the innings that
Yep,
you really need to
back
be
and
picked
forth
up.
rotation and bullpen.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Swingman is a very difficult role, and if you can do it, you're very valuable.
Mm-hmm.
I went with Cavalli because chalk.
Right.
But I mean,
He could be very,
he
very good.
yeah, he has the best stuff right now in this rotation. He has a clear competitive drive to be the best. Like it's kind of he's sort of trying to take on a leadership role, it seems like, with this team, which I love to see, obviously. Um, considering he's actually probably one of the older players on the team at this
Yeah,
point.
ironically,
Uh,
yeah.
but yeah, I'm hopeful for him, especially how he pitched last year. The ERA number wasn't amazing, but it was pretty good, and some of the underlying metrics look really good. I love the fact that he's able to get more ground balls than we initially thought he was going to be able to get. Adding the sweeper is going to help him with a little bit more swing and miss, a little bit more deception. The key, like I said in the previous episode, is how many innings can he throw per start, and how many innings can he throw per start where his velo stays up? Because when his velocity was over 97 miles per hour last year, he was basically unhittable. So if he can, kind of extend that, having a little bit more experience, a little bit more, um, or maybe just being figuring out how to pitch when his velocity isn't quite there.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, either direction would work. But I'm still expecting him to be pretty good this year. But yeah, it is kind of the boring pick again.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but I do think there's uh something to be said about your point. Like, can he, for lack of a better term, become a pitcher, not a thrower? Like, throwing
Yeah,
hard is not abnormal these days, but pitching and being smart with your stuff is in a lot of ways. So,
especially
uh,
for a starter. Like you can't
yes,
really get away with it as easily when you're a starter. You have to face
right.
the lineup two or three times.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Why don't you go with your MVP pick? Because I actually do like it a lot.
Final award I'm giving out in this episode is the Nats MVP. I went a little bit back and forth with this one, ended up settling on Dalen Lyle as my MVP. Had CJ in there initially because I think if CJ figures it out throughout an entire season, his ceiling is as high as anyone on this team. But Dalen Lyle is such a consistent hitter
Mm-hmm.
that it's just kind of the sure thing, honestly,
Feels that way.
from this roster. Like, yeah, we are talking about floors. Feels like as a hitter, his floor is extremely high. He has a very compact, repeatable swing with power still, not like elite power, but he's got plenty of power, and his speed helps him as well. You know, stretching singles into doubles. I think he had like 11 triples last year in like half a season, which is insane. And he started to hit the homer a little bit more down the stretch
Homework
in the
today.
final month. Yes, he did. So and I think as he gains more experience as well, that walk rate's going to creep up a little bit. Not necessarily expecting him to be like a 10% walk rate guy, but because he's pretty aggressive, but he's aggressive on the right pitches. So you can kind of see uh, the potential there for that walk rate to go up, especially as pitchers start fearing him a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
where he gets a few less pitches to hit because he's kind of establishing himself as one of the better line drive hitters in the game. And I expect a defensive improvement as well as more stolen bases because he's extremely fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's just more coaching than anything, right? Steel
Yeah.
breaks and defensive positioning and
Yeah,
whatnot.
I think he seems like the kind of guy who's very coachable and will improve,
Mm-hmm.
especially defensively. I mean, he honestly only has to go up from where he was last year. So
Yeah, right, right. We have hit rock bottom, folks, for a lot of aspects of this team, so can only go up. All right, this is actually fun. Um, I mean, we didn't go James Wood, and I think that's it's not anything against James Wood. I just think there's options for this award, which is a good thing. Is and that's why it's fun. So for me, again, on the theme of who can benefit the most from this new era, and this is a guy who highly touted first round draft pick, top 12 pick. I can't remember exactly what number he went. Um, but was touted with power, hasn't really tapped into it, but this spring has absolutely torn the cover off the
say it,
ball.
say
Brady House.
it.
I am all in. Like I'm all in on Seaver King, but I am all like chips on the table with Brady House because he looks the part. He's just super young. Like he came up super early. He was one of those guys that was not the franchise savior, but was in that bag of players where it's just like, hey, fix this franchise, like just go do it, right? And now we actually have coaching. He's still only 22 years old, so I understand last year was not great, but my God, like I hate that I'm going to get hurt again on spring training stats, but Brady House has looked so good this spring. 447, three
Basically,
home
the only
runs,
guy that's
six
hit, really.
doubles, 11 RBIs. Again, I know it's 14 games, but it was the greatest 14 games. It might be the only 14 game stretch that is enjoyable for the Nats this season. So, like, let me live. Um, but he's a great defender, supreme athlete. I'm very bullish on Brady House. He just needs to hit for power. That's the big thing because so much of his game looks like it's almost there, if not already there.
Yeah, and another guy on this team that doesn't have to be an elite hitter to be valuable because his
Mm-hmm.
defense is so strong and we think it's even going to get better. So 110 OPS plus with great defense at third base, I think is probably enough to win the Nats MVP this year.
That would be double. He had a 62 OPS plus last year.
Yeah, I was going to say he just needs to do half of what he's done in spring training and we'll be good. But yeah, I expect the home run numbers to go up a little bit.
I also think as a team, the on base percentage is going to be way better than last year.
I agree. That seems to be their philosophy is trying to find the on base percentage guys because that we just don't have a lot of power. So it's kind of like get on base, run the bases, play a little guardian ball.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully James Wood can sustain his home run power through a full season. Um, Obviously his second half was kind of derailed by hopefully just that Derby stint, and that's all it was. But we'll see. Uh, yeah, it was hard to pick Wood for this. Like, it's not hard, but it's like I don't know. The strikeout number is just really concerning. Until that starts going down a little bit, I can't like he'll still be a great hitter, but I can't give
Yeah.
him our MVP just because if he's not reaching that ceiling, obviously with the bat, his defense isn't great, and he's a decent base runner, but not incredible. So kind of I was started looking at guys who I think will be better all around. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, no, I think that's a fun pick, and I hope that it comes true. Please,
Yeah.
I need
S-
something.
Still a big James Wood fan, but
Oh
yeah,
yeah, of course.
his
He could blow this all out of the
variance,
water
yes,
with
and
with a
make us look
150
stupid.
OPS
Yeah,
plus
40
consistently throughout the year.
bombs,
Yeah, which
110 RBIs.
is
Yeah.
clearly in there somewhere if he can
Hmm.
just not whiff too much.
Right, right. But again, to our point, I mean, he had a 350 OBP last year, which is very good. But
Yeah,
like,
he was great last year
but to
in
the
in
point, it's
total.
just like coaching and identifying pitches and reducing chase rate. Like that seems to be this regime's philosophy, and so that would also help James Wood, right?
Hmm.
Also very young, only 23 years old. So, um, yeah, man, I think just in general, as much as we poke fun at the Nats, like there's plenty of stuff to get invested in right now. Um, it might take a little bit of it will take a little bit of patience or a lot of patience, but
Yeah,
uh there's plenty of stuff to get invested in, and I'm just gonna put all my faith into this new regime because I've loved how they've attacked this in the 8 months or however long it's been that they've been here. So I'm ready to see some player you know progression based on what they're doing, and I'm excited for opening day on Thursday. But it's hitting me. I truly feel, here's my positivity for this episode and just in general, like it feels better to be a Nats fan this year than it has in several years.
yeah.
And yeah, just because we can kind of see the areas and reason for optimism.
They're trying something different, which they
Yes.
haven't done for years.
And it's not just marginally different, it is completely different, and different in the fact that it's something they've never done, but it's also what the rest of the league is doing. Not rest of the
Mhm.
league, but like the
Most of the best
yes,
teams.
right. So it's like, all right, they're finally getting up to speed. So, we should see some better results.
Yeah. Real quick, I just wanted to bring up the Nats schedule to start the season because it
Oh
is
yeah.
absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
We
So
start in
optimism for
Chicago,
now, and then yeah.
starting against the Cubs on the road. I mean, opening weekend at Wrigley is just brutal. Like that is against a damn good team. Then you got to go to Philly, division rival right away, who has absolutely owned us for
Ever.
however many years. And then
Mhm.
yeah, Dodgers come to town for the first homestand. First series of the year at home is against LA. So, man, if we can win three of those games, I'll feel great.
Mhm.
But that's gonna be that's a tough one before we finally get a winnable series potentially against the Cardinals. So yeah, it might be a rough opening. Um, but I'm just looking for guys to compete and play hard, and that's all you can really ask for because obviously the talent isn't quite as good as some of those other teams.
Yeah. I mean, it'll we'll see how it turns out.
Three wins. I will
May,
be ecstatic with 3 wins out of those.
yeah, maybe they end up more, dare I say, scrappy than
Oh no, let's find a different label. This is a new. It can be similar, but let's find a different one. Let's find a new
I
word
will
synonym.
say opening day, it's Cavalli versus Matthew Boyd. And Matthew Boyd had a great year last year. I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but like historically not like a world beater. So, maybe
There's
they
a chance
steal
there.
opening
There's a
day,
chance
right?
there.
Yeah, maybe they steal a
Maybe
little
that's the
bit of
one out of that
juice.
series.
I mean, hey, we did beat the World Baseball Classic champion Venezuela team in an exhibition.
That's a
So,
that's a great point. Actually, I didn't even think about that. I think we
yeah.
should be number one in the power rankings
Yeah,
then.
honestly, this team is ready to go. Um, So yeah, we'll see. Opening day of Thursday. I cannot wait. Um, all right, man. I mean, this is a super fun episode. I love it every single year, damn near 2 hours. So hopefully, for those of you listening, you stayed with us throughout this whole thing. But Trey, any final thoughts before we say so long to our listeners?
It's once again we're just going to reiterate the patience. Like it's not going to be pretty much of the time this year, but we got to look for the positives as much as we can, just because we know. that this is going to be a process. Obviously, it sucks that we have to rebuild a rebuild, but it's kind of where we're at. So we gotta try and look for progress in approach and in some other aspects here. But yeah, I think I'm at least gonna be I'm gonna enjoy watching regardless because I know that they're trying to build towards something,
Hmm.
even if it's not always the prettiest baseball this year, which it won't be at times. But yeah, we're gonna try and keep it optimistic without being, up our own asses, of course. But like, we're gonna definitely be looking for the positives here.
Yep, 100%. My final thoughts: food options look good. I'm gonna need one of those crab mac and cheese hot dogs. Um,
Look at what the stadium's got to offer.
yeah, discounted beers too.
About
Uh,
time.
yeah. Um, yeah, hell yeah. Looking forward to that. Feels weird that the home opener is not till April 3rd. It's like almost 2 full weeks of baseball, but that's all right. Uh, just a random quirk in the schedule. So, what? Hey, that. Oh, I was gonna say it might be their first win, but they're playing the Dodgers. So, oh well. Oh well. All right. Well, we will be back throughout the season. We have not talked about a set schedule or anything like that. We'll probably just pop in when there's things to talk about, highlights, important series, important developments, things like that. Um, Again, at this point, we're doing this for fun. This is a good, uh, you know, opportunity to talk about the team and get reinvested in the team, as I'm sure a lot of the listeners are feeling as well. So we'll be popping in throughout the season a couple times a month.
Yeah, episodes won't be quite as long as this one either,
No,
by the
no, they
way.
will not.
This
They will
is the
not.
opener big prediction one, so don't
Yes,
we're not going
yes,
2 hours every
right.
time.
And I think I'll probably preface or put that in the description
Yeah.
and in the tweets, like, hey, abnormally long episode, but it's going to be, in that 40-minute mark that we typically are at throughout the season when we check in throughout the season. So all right, well, I appreciate you guys listening again. If you made it to the end of the episode, we love you. Love you so much.
Especially this
But
one.
yeah, exactly. So looking forward to the season. It's a brand new year, brand new team. Plenty of reasons to be excited. So exhibit patience, like Trey mentioned, but it's good. Baseball's back, and that's always a good thing. So all right, we'll talk to you. In the meantime, follow us on Twitter at District BSB, and let's go Nats.
Let's go Nats.